Hi, everybody. You are welcome to the Mr. Pipeline podcast, the podcast for home service business owners. My name is Michael, and I'm your host for today. And we'll be talking about building a marketing dream team. Joining me in the studio today, we have Jess from our account management team. Hey, Jess.
Hi, Michael. I'm excited to begin.
Nice having you here. And we also have Dave from Google Ads team. He's a Google Ads manager. Hi, Dave.
Hi, Michael. How you doing? Excited to be here.
Thank you very much for being here. And today we will be covering hiring, account management, as well as Google Ads tactics for home service businesses, plus a couple of success stories and success tips. Now, we're just going to jump into it straight up. For every business to succeed, there has to be a structure. Why do you reckon team structure actually matters for home service business owners?
Yes, so again, this is Jess, and I act as the operational partner of our client here with Mr. Pipeline. And since there's a lot of moving parts, especially if you're running an agency or just a small company business, it's important to have that structure. So you'll know who the person who's going to be responsible for the sales, the onboarding, yeah, all those stuff. So it's very important to have that kind of structure.
You back on what Jess said. Yeah, having a good structure, company structure is very, very important. Like you said, there's so many moving parts in starting a campaign or even having a marketing campaign that you will need more than one person to be able to handle all the different services and different operations that you will have to take care of. As well as if you want things to go smoothly, you will need somebody that's in constant talking and relationship with the client in conversation with them just so that we can have a lot of tasks that needs to get done. We can have those things taken care of in a quickly fashion. If not, then you risk the chance of maybe not having conversation for 1 or 2 days, and a lot of things can happen between that time. So that's why you need that constant conversation between constant relationship between account manager and the client.
Thank you very much for your inputs there. That is very interesting because if you do have leads coming in through the door and you're not organized in a fashion that ensures continuous relationship building, just like you mentioned, Dave, then you end up losing clients.
That's correct.
And that now provides us a segue into the core roles and hiring checklist. So this here is basically us trying to provide tips or to organizations, to home service businesses on who they should be looking to hire and why. Just from your standpoint, from account management standpoint, who do you reckon home service businesses should be looking to hire and what skills should they be looking for?
Yeah, that's a good question, Michael. So basically, we have two things that I want you to point out. So first, you have to have a skill set checklist. So that should include, having strong communication, customer service to add. Um, they should also know how to use project management tools like Asana or um, Trello, ClickUp, all those stuff, for example. And they should also be familiar with CRMs like Java, um, House Call Pro, and I believe Nice Job as well. Since majority of our clients were actually using those, and they're actually tied into their website, so it's best that they know how to use them. And also, that person should know how to interpret data since we're running business here. We should have a person who knows how to interpret and discuss that um, to the client. That way, the clients will also be aware of where they actually stand when it comes to their ads and for their business overall. So that's the first one. And then we would like to also have a list of red flags. Not just the pros. We also have the cons, the red flags. So we do not want to hire someone who actually does not know how to do a simple reporting,
Yeah.
um, and then does not know how to do the SLA. So we should have a concrete lead response, because if you miss that particular call and you are not able to get back to the client in a day, then that already means that it's a lost job, it's a lost opportunity, and we don't want that. And lastly, um, we do not want to have that person who just says, trust me, I can do this, but cannot give you any specific or any solid strategy for your business. So we don't want that. And yeah, I forgot. Um, Also for the skill set, it's important to check the character of the person that you're going to hire. Have a feeling, does hiring this person, you know, are we going to have like a harmonious relationship or communication?
Correct.
So yeah, that's actually very important.
Strength of the skills have to be something that's relatable, right? Meaning something that they're able to come back with reports or analytical studies, things like that, to let you know that what they're doing is working or is not working. So it's something else that Jess mentioned was tracking, right? So let's say you are running a business and you have a couple employees that are running your PPC or your Facebook ads, for example, and they've been running ads for a couple weeks and nothing is coming in. You're not getting any new leads. You're spending money on clicks, but you're not really seeing any return on your investment. Then you need to understand why this is happening. And your account manager or mostly your Google Ads manager or your Facebook Ads manager needs to be able to relate to you and explain to you why this or that wasn't working. So I think those are very, very important things that you need, especially when you're a small business. Just because you might not have the capital or the room to be able to waste money. When you're first starting off, you need everything to be very, very tight, just so you don't waste any money. And that's the best way I think that you need to you be looking at it if you're a small business.
That's
Yeah,
interesting. Thank you very much for sharing those points. I think a particular point both of you did really highlight is the part of relationship building, making sure that whoever is going to be in that account management role is able to consistently build a harmonious relationship with your clients. When it comes to hiring PPC, what or ad help, what technical skills do you reckon are non-negotiable from your aspect, from your perspective?
To me, is you have to be analytical. That's the first thing. You have to be able to look at numbers and look at trends and be able to tell whether you have to move into something or step away from it. The other thing is you got to have short-term memory because you can't get attached to certain keywords. There are times where you might get into a campaign and you put in a keyword and you really think that keyword should be converting, right? Like let's just say, for example, a gutter company, right? And you have gutter installations near me, for example, which is known to perform really well in a lot of companies. But if for some reason in this area this keyword is not performing as well, then you need to be able to step away from it and turn it off. I see a lot of times that a lot of ad managers might kind of stick to something a little bit too long just because they think it should be performing well when the data is what you should be listening to.
That's interesting. Thank you very much for those tips. Now I'll be going into back into account management. When it comes to setting up, say, a small business, home service business owner wants to set up his or her account management section. When it comes to retention reporting, as well as client operations, what essentials do you reckon the business owner should look into? Like the structure they should have in place. This is now different from the skills that the account manager needs to have? What other systems do you reckon the account management section needs to have available?
Right. Yeah, that's another good question, Michael. So basically, for account management, after sales, the clients that we actually acquired were actually endorsed to the account manager, which is me. And the next thing, and also the one of the crucial parts, is to onboard the client. So for account management, we should have the onboarding checklist. And with the onboarding checklist, that actually includes getting all access points from the client. So getting access for GBP, ads account, Facebook page, name it. All of those that are needed to run their business. And we also have the CRM that we are using. Phone system, of course, that's also one of the important things since we use that to communicate with the clients. We also ask for their service area map. So we also have this system where we actually put in all of our clients. That way we can actually strategize on how we're going to run their services in their campaign. And typical ticket size. We also need that because that will give us an overview of how much the clients were actually charging for services that they're offering. And then from there, we can also help them how we can actually calculate if they're getting the ROIs that they are targeting. And we also need if they have seasonal calendar, that will also help us because like what I said, that will also help us on how we can strategize their campaign, especially for Google Ads and Facebook Ads. So that's for onboarding checklist. And then once we're done with the onboarding, we actually discuss the goals and set proper expectations of the client. And if the client's expectations are actually not aligned, then we actually discuss it and give them numbers because, like what Dave said earlier, numbers don't lie. So as much as possible, we provide them that. And last but not the least, for account management is basically your turnaround time to get back to your client or your response time. That's very important. As much as possible, Mr. Pipeline is actually promoting to get back to the client within an hour. If you don't have the data or you don't have the answer right away, then you can just acknowledge the client that, you know, um, we have seen your message, we're working on it, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. So those are basically the essentials for account management.
Thank you very much for that. Just to add to what you've said, so basically, for our audiences listening to us at the moment, to be able to copy from what we do, um, what Jess is basically saying is make sure to have an onboarding checklist. Your clients would be homeowners that you already have brought in through the door via a sales contact or a marketing contact. So an onboarding checklist will make sure that you are able to follow up with them and convert them into
Absolutely.
long-term recurring clients, and also making sure you're able to reach out back to them within 24 hours. That helps reduce the vacuum that would be between the initial contact and follow up as well. That creates a better customer relationship, client customer relationship with the organization, basically.
Yes, that to have a great customer relationship, you do have to have systems and processes in place, and just to make sure that you don't overlook anything, and having that onboarding sheet to make sure that you check every box is the most, if one of the most important things that you need to have as a home service business.
What would you advise them to have in place in terms of structural arrangements?
Okay, yes, very good question. Very good question. So the main thing to say here is that every structure could vary depending on um, depending on what you're looking for, right? So every company, even though you're all small service businesses and home service businesses, but small businesses, I mean, I'm sorry, I still think that they all differ, meaning a gutter installation company could be looking for something different than a paver installation company or a pressure washing company, right? And at the same time, even if you have two of the same companies, they could still be looking for two different things. They could be at two different stages in their journey, right? So one company could be looking for more leads. Another company could be looking for more just attention, just basically reach, right? One company could be in a small area, another company could be in a bigger city. So all those things really matter. But the main things that you need to have for any business is you need to have a refined target location with a decent number of people looking for your service, because it doesn't really matter how nice your website is, how nice your landing page is. It doesn't really matter how nice the ad copy is. If no one's looking for your service, it's going to be really hard to market for it, and you'll end up spending a lot of money and not being happy. So the first thing is to have a good, very good target area. I'm sorry, to run your ads in. The other thing to have would be a decent looking website or landing page. Okay. Um, that's your first point of contact when the client clicks the ad. As soon as the client clicks the ad, it's directing them directly, driving traffic directly to your landing page or your website. So you want to make sure that your website or your landing page is very clear, it's concise to the point, but at the same time, it pops out, right? So either have a nice logo, nice images. Images are one of the most important things, especially in this era of social media and all these things. The first thing that a person sees when they go on your page is they're gonna look at the images or the videos. They're not reading the content. Okay. So if the images or the video is not high quality, 9 out of 10 times they're getting off the website because they feel like it's not credible. They feel like the company didn't take the time to go out and get quality images, quality videos, so they're not going to spend their money on you. So that's one of the main things I think that you should have. Also, thirdly would be a clear call to action, right? You want to make sure that you have that on your landing page or your website, and also on your in your ad copy. Meaning, do you want them to call you? Do you want them to send you a text? Do you want them to fill out a form? And in the form, do you have additional information that you might need for them? Right? Do you need them to upload a picture? Because you might offer services where you can give them a quote online because you have a software that can tell you exactly how much is going to be charged just by looking at them online. So you have to make sure that you have those things in place to begin with, and then make sure you implement that in your landing page. Um, Other than that, I feel like everything else could be secondary, but the things that we just mentioned are the main things. That's your meat.
Great. Jess, you have anything you wish to add to that?
Um, well, I think it will fall under secondary, just like what they said. Yeah, we also suggest, and we're actually pushing this to our clients. Aside from having a good website and a good landing page, CTAs and all that, we also encourage them to be active on social media and making sure that those photos that they have, the before and after service, are being uploaded to their socials and their GBC, because that will help their potential clients to make sure that these people running this ads are real people and they're still giving service. So I think that's
Very happy you brought that up because I think Google recently changed the rules when it comes to posting AI pictures as well. So making sure that the before and after actually real pictures, not AI generated, matters a whole lot.
Correct.
Great.
The other
Um,
thing I did want to add really quickly is
Go
probably
ahead.
the most important thing I forgot to say was a healthy budget.
Oh
Like,
yeah, that's
yeah,
true.
it's very hard to run a campaign if you don't have the money for it. So, obviously, make sure that we do the research, and then make sure you have a very, very healthy budget, especially in this day and age. There are so many people on either Google Ads or Facebook Ads. It's very competitive right now. There's a lot of people running ads. So if you don't have a healthy budget, you're going to end up spending more money than you make.
Yeah, that's right. And I'd like to add on that with what Dave is saying. If you're going to run for Google Ads, you should have a budget for at least 3 to 6 months, since most of the time you'll have, good results for running Google Ads after 6 to 12 months. So that's something that you need to consider as well.
Great, fantastic insights there. We'll be progressing into success stories. This is where we are able to share a few success stories with our audiences so that they get to have an idea of what they could actually achieve by following our guidance as well. Just starting with you, you want to share a quick success story listeners can relate to?
Yes. So since we talked about the budget um, earlier just now, so this actually happened recently, and this is me and Dave's client actually. He's running a gutter cleaning company, and there's actually a storm coming up like in the next 2 days. So we actually decided to increase his budget, and luckily the client agreed to that. So during the time that we have doubled his budget, we actually receive a good amount of leads after that. So basically, since it's also in a competitive area, making sure that the budget is up and you're also being competitive with that budget, it's really going to deliver a great result. And that's for short term.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so just having a healthy budget, like Dave said, as well as taking advantage of the current scenario, being aware of what's happening in your environment and staying active basically ensures that you are able to capitalize and optimize your ROIs.
So,
Dave, any success stories from your end?
sure, I have a couple, but just to piggyback a little bit on what Jess said, I think this brings in together greatly what we're talking about here in this podcast, right? Meaning like to build the right structure for a small business. Like Jess was mentioning, just because we had the right structure, because we had an account manager speaking to the client often, we were and also making sure that they're also in the account and doing research and knowing what's going on in that client's state or city. They were able to know that a storm was approaching. They were able to reach out to the client, agree to a healthy budget, and then relate that to us. And then we increased the budget, and in turn, because of it, the client was able to capitalize on the extra 20 to 30 leads or something like that. So that's just kind of like bringing everything together. I'm talking about like how building the right structure is so important. But my success stories, we had a couple clients. It's two of them. One was a gutter company. They came on, I think, a couple years ago, and we were trying to run. We were running a campaign for them, and we couldn't really get them to get enough traction. We couldn't get them enough leads in the timely fashion that they wanted. They ended up offboarding with us. They went away, but our sales team kept in good conversation, kept a good relationship with them, and they decided and convinced them to basically come back on. Since they came back on, we had a better relationship with the account managers. They spoke a lot more often, and we were able to get on the same page with them. And since then, I think they reached out to us a couple times saying that um, they made the most amount of money that they've made since they started their company. They've been they're one of our biggest clients at the moment. They're one of our highest spenders. They're writing reviews all the time. They ended up, I think, adding a website and also SEO because they saw how well the ads were doing. So this is just speaking about like about the patience sometimes in the relationship that you need to have, for example, right? Because they weren't happy at first. They ended up leaving, but because we had such a good relationship, we were able to convince them to come back and give us a second chance, and we were able to make it right for them. So that was good. And then the second client was a company, a pressure washing company, or a home exterior service company, because they do pressure washing, house washing, and all those things. And the same thing, we were struggling to get them the amount of leads that they wanted. We basically got together with the account manager, me, and the owner got together, and we basically just made a plan to meet every Friday and just talk about what's going on, how the campaign was doing, and things like that. Which services were working, which services weren't working, which keywords were working, and so forth. And because of that, we were able to come up with a plan to basically refine our target locations. And by doing so, the conversion rate skyrocketed. Leads started pouring in, and now that they're really happy.
That is fantastic. That's great examples you have shared there. That points to the fact that relationship building is extremely vital in this industry. And also being able to pay attention to your clients, basically, your client's matrix, being able to understand what works in that market and what's going to be beneficial to the client as well.
Absolutely.
And our audiences could basically utilize this as a means of getting to know your customers much better and seeing what works for them and providing insights that would help them, basically, not just insights that would be beneficial to you as an organization. Yes, you are a business, you have to be profitable, but also look out for your client in the process as well.
100%.
Great. As we wrap up this podcast, we will be moving into the actionable tips section. Are you able to provide our listeners with some actionable tips they can implement right away?
Well, let me go first. But before that, I think I would like to also add to what where Dave is actually saying, like that offboarded client, we were able to get them back with us, and they've been responsive ever since. So I also wanted to point out that success is it should be two-way street. As much as we want to be responsive to our clients, we also want our clients to do the same for us. So we want honesty and transparency on their end. That way, we can really, tailor fit what the action plans that we're doing to, of course, drive success. So yeah, just wanted to point that out as well.
Great.
Yeah. So for implementable tips, so first is to have or create a 30-day onboarding checklist. That's mandatory. And you also have to have a monthly reporting, have all of the numbers. That way you can review where your business is at. And last but not the least is to make sure that you have SOPs. Document everything. And if you think that, that particular SOP is no longer working, then you can go ahead and revise it and improve it for the better.
Great. Thanks for sharing. Dave, from your end, what actionable tips would you like to share to our listeners?
Actionable tips for Google Ads. First and foremost, if you're starting off small business, market research. You have to do market research. Run. So basically, just go on Google, um, put in put in a box the service that you offer, and look to see how many ads pop up, right? And this would tell you whether your service is in demand in the area. It will tell you the competition that you have in the area and things like that. And also what type of offers and what type of promos your competitors are offering. If you put in your service in the search box and you don't see any ads, it could be one of two things. It could be either no one is looking for your service in the area, So it's not even worth really running ads. And that doesn't mean anything bad. It just means maybe like in your area, people might be more prone to calling bandit signs, or maybe there's a big franchise in the area that is dominating that service, and that they would rather go to, right? So um, or it could also mean that nobody's starting to run ads in this area. So it could be you're the first person to do it, which is very rare, right? Or it could just be that just people aren't looking for that service so much on Google in your area. So market research, I think, would be probably the most important thing. The other thing, obviously, is make sure that you have a good budget. But another actionable tip would be to target locations and audience marketing. So after doing your market research, you would need to figure out who your audience is. All right, your demographic. Is it married couples? Is it singles? Is it men, women? Is it older people? Is it younger people? That's another thing that I feel like you need to know. And also, thirdly, would be the target locations, knowing exactly where to target. So a lot of times what happens is you have a company that is in a smaller rural area, and they really just want to run ads or services in their demographic, right? So they're not willing to go too far to basically deliver that service. But the problem is, if your city or your area has really, really low search volume, then your ads are not really going to perform really well. So another actionable tip would be to make sure that you do your research, and then you look at your target locations and make sure that you have at least, well, we go for at least a million reach. So a million people in the area that's searching for your services at any time.
Jess and Dave, it was an absolute pleasure speaking with you both. You guys have a
Thank
lovely
you.
day. Bye
Thanks
bye.
for
Thank you. Bye.